Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the very first paint along and the very first event of the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America's Fall 2023 Improving Lives Through Art series. My name is Joe Caliva, and I am so incredibly happy and honored to be back once again as your host this evening and for every event scheduled for this season. And I am also thrilled to announce that tonight we are joined once again by our newest instructor for the Paint Along events, Ms. Omayra Rivera-Filardi, who is also an MSAA Art Showcase artist and a professional teacher. Tonight, she will be guiding us in creating this beautiful painting, perfect for autumn, which officially starts on September 23rd, less than 2 weeks away. Eek. If you painted along with us last spring, Omayra led us in creating two beautiful springtime birch tree paintings. These two that you see here. And I think the one that we'll be creating tonight will be the perfect autumn companion piece to them. But if tonight is your first time joining us, don't worry, you'll have a wonderful standalone piece. So get ready for a great night of art making. But before we begin, as always, I'd like to hand the mic over for the first time this year to the president and CEO of MSAA, our fearless leader, Ms. Gina Murdoch, for a few special words to kick off tonight's event and the fall 2023 ILTA season. Gina, take it away.
Thank you so much for joining us for our first paint along in our Improving Lives Through Art fall series. We are so thrilled to see the continued enthusiasm and support for this program. I am also honored to introduce tonight's art showcase artist, Omayra Rivera-Filardi. I know you will be inspired by Omayra's story and her talent as we create together. I want to thank all of our supporters, our very generous supporters, including Sandoz, who is our sponsor for this evening. Without that generous support, MSAA cannot provide free programs and services and innovate to meet the needs of the MS community. So truly thank you to all of our supporters for tonight's special event. So I am excited to learn. I am excited to paint. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Gina. Always great to see you. And before we get started, as always, I would like to go over a few house rules to make sure the night runs smoothly and is a pleasant experience for everyone. So first, we ask that all of you keep your microphone and camera turned off while painting. This is to reduce background noise and visual distractions. But as always, have no fear. We'll give everyone the chance at different times throughout the event to unmute your cameras and microphones to share your work. And if at any time during the broadcast you have a question for Omayra or for me, you can use the virtual raise hand feature, which you can find by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of your screen, then clicking the raise hand button. Or if you're on a mobile device, tap the button that says More at the bottom of your screen and then tap Raise Hand. This will be your view throughout most of the evening. You do not have to worry about selecting gallery view or speaker view or fiddling with your settings. I will take care of all of that for you by spotlighting the camera angle that we should all be watching at the same time. I mention this so that if you hear Omayra speaking but only see her canvas or her painting, there is nothing wrong with your screen. And finally, I'd like to echo Gina's gratitude to our diamond sponsor, Sandoz, for not only making tonight's event possible, but the entire Improving Lives Through Art series as well. Thank you to Sandoz for your ongoing support of MSAA. All right, so let me introduce our instructor for the evening. If you weren't here back in the spring, Omayra Rivera-Filardi is an artist and visual arts teacher who was born in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. She was raised in New York City and now lives in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She was diagnosed in 2010 with multiple sclerosis, which was the second autoimmune illness that she was diagnosed as having. The first being myasthenia gravis, a rare long-term condition that affects the muscles. With both conditions causing issues in her vision and hand control, Omayra had to adapt and redirect her focus in order to continue her journey as an artist and as a teacher. She currently teaches art to kindergarten through fifth graders. She is a featured artist in the 2021 MSAA Art Showcase. And as I mentioned before, she is a shining example of a life improved through art. And it is my pleasure once again to present to you your instructor for the evening, Ms. Omayra Rivera-Filardi. Omayra, welcome once again. Thank you for joining us. And how are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. It's my pleasure joining everyone tonight again. I seem to I enjoy doing these with everyone. It's my relaxing point in my crazy world.
Yeah, well, and this is you're just in your second week of back to school, right? So
Yes.
I guess it is particularly crazy right now.
Yeah, this is the crazy time of the year, setting up classrooms and transitioning back in and transitioning the students back to being in school.
Yeah, yeah. I do not miss those days. So, but well, good. Well, I hope that tonight offers you some fun and relaxation. I know everybody's looking forward to it. Just want to remind everybody tonight, while we're first getting started, type in the chat any questions that you might have, but also where you're joining us tonight. As I mentioned, Omayra is in Connecticut. I'm joining from Woodbury, New Jersey, and would love to see where all of you are joining us from tonight. So, all right. Well, without any further delay, Omayra, I know people are excited to paint, so I'm going to pass it on to you to get things started.
Awesome. Okay, so as you can see, the palette is already set up. My fancy paper plate palette is ready to go with the colors that everyone should have received. I usually leave the center open so it's easier for us to mix, but you should have your brown, red, yellow, blue, white, and black. If you don't have them in this order, it's not a big deal. I will be showing you step by step anyway. And then of course you have your canvas. Everyone should have some napkins so we can blot, and a cup. Mine is just a fancy old jar. So we are going to start with the biggest brush, and very gently we're going to wet our brush. When you wet it, make sure that you don't bring your brush all the way in. You just want to dip your brush so that it goes probably halfway toward your bristles. If you get too much water, it'll just come out in gushes in your canvas. So we're going to start with the sky, and I like to mix these colors on the canvas. I think it creates a lot more depth. So we're going to take our largest brush and we're just going to go blue to white, and you're just going to start covering your entire canvas. Again, just blue to white. If you want it to look more like an evening, I would suggest adding more blue. If you want more of a daytime feel, I suggest adding more white. And I like to mix this right on the canvas because of the depth. Plus, sometimes you wind up coming up with a great color on your palette, and then you just can't replicate that on the canvas because you don't have those little pieces of blue or whatever color it is that you're mixing on your brush. It's all been mixed together. So I'm just going to keep dipping back and forth. And I'm going to do this until the entire canvas is full. And the sky, depending on your brush strokes, might even look like it's windy in the background. But I like that feel. And if you see an area became a little too dark, don't be afraid to go right over it. And I bring that, you're going to do that to the entire canvas. Until you fill everything up. And just continuing to go back and forth with your color. Make sure you get those edges smooth out. And you don't want to have like a very flat, you want really to move your hand back and forth because you want to have that feeling of movement in the air. It's not intended to be flat. And you're going to do that till you fill up the entire canvas. When I had my tremors, this was a great way to just get the paint onto the canvas without having to worry about things being perfectly flat or straight. But it still gave me a painterly mixture of colors and feel. Right over here, that's got too white for me, so I'm just gonna go in there and add some blue. Now, a lot of our sky is actually going to be covered once we start adding our leaves, but you want to make sure you create this nice base all over until your entire canvas is covered. I would suggest don't even think about it too much. Just enjoy the strokes, enjoy the motion. Get your hand kind of accustomed to the stroking back and forth. So when I'm looking at the canvas, it looks one way, and then I look at it in the camera and it looks completely different to me. Because I'm also short, so my height, perception here with my canvas being flat is a little different. So, but it's a sky, so just have fun with it. It's almost like you're crisscrossing it around. And once you're done, you can rinse out that blue in your water and blot your brush on your napkin. I don't want to go too fast, so I'm going to wait. If you are done, you can give us the hand motion so that I know that you are ready to move forward to the next step.
Yes, and if people are wondering where that hand motion is, if you're watching this on your computer, there's a reactions button at the bottom of your screen. You might have to move your mouse or hover your mouse over your Zoom window, but just click on reactions and then give a thumbs up like I'm doing right now. And by the way, I will put up, I have on my screen here what the finished painting will look like, or will look similar to. This is the reference photo. But I already love Omayra seeing the texture of the background that you're creating here for the painting tonight. it's just that mixing on the canvas, it already looks like sort of a clouds and a textured sky. It's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I said, when I suffered from tremors and my hand shaking, probably during the second relapse, I would say, keeping my hand steady was hard. And this technique just offered me a way of still feeling like I was a painter, like it was very painterly, and it created depth. So it was nice. And it was just freeing. It was almost like, okay, the repetitive motion, it's like OT therapy for your hand.
I think that's really important to emphasize, because we've said it during the ILTA series before, that I think the the genesis of this whole series was to offer an improvement to wellness, or almost like emotional or psychological therapy for people living with MS. But as you just described, and many other artists have mentioned, that the actual physical act of painting offers a lot more than just the emotional and psychological. It's also seems to help to rebuild those nerve connections, and offers a physical therapy as well, an occupational therapy. And did you find that with in your MS journey in particular?
Yes, definitely. I love painting and illustration, and for illustration, I like things that were more technical. So when I had the tremors, this was a great way. It was almost like muscle memory in a way. But the repetition of it helped tremendously, at least for me. And just to get comfortable again. And okay, so how do you deal? And as the tremors began to subside, it flowed. It just felt right. Even when I had tingling at times, it wasn't as uncomfortable. It was smooth. It was more transitional for me. It felt easier to do.
That's incredible. And it looks like we might have a question here from Allie. Allie, I'll go ahead and ask you to unmute so you can ask your question.
Oh, sorry. I was just putting up I thought this was the hand function that you mentioned.
Okay. well, I'll lower your hand, but that's that's okay. I think we're still waiting for I guess maybe some folks to for the paint to dry on that initial layer. Do you think it needs a little bit more time, Omayra, or
I mean, I think we'll be good, but I just want to make sure that everybody has that first base down. As long as they do, then we could get started, because for this paint, it has to create the effect. The reason the painting has such a wide bottom on the birch is because you want it to create that illusion that you're underneath the birch tree looking up. So I want to make sure that we are able to lightly work that in, and then we could have fun putting in our leaves before we go into the detailed work of the actual birch tree.
yeah, I just threw that reference painting back up again so people can see what you meant here, and how the finished piece will look at the end of the night here. So great. Well, if everybody's ready to go, maybe we can try the thumbs up again. Just hit the reactions button and then give us the thumbs up if you are ready to move on and you're ready for Omayra to go on to the next step. There you go, Allie. We got the thumbs up that time.
Awesome.
And
right.
yeah, it looks like we're getting a whole bunch of thumbs up. So
yes, awesome. All right. I never want to make anyone feel rushed, because this is supposed to be relaxing and an enjoyable experience. So I want everyone to go to their medium-sized brush. Let me move this way. Yeah, here. You should have a medium-sized brush like this. I want you to wet it a little bit, because we're actually going to lay out the angle of the birch tree. And this is tricky, because if your base of the birch tree, the bottom, is too thin, you won't have that same feeling of being underneath the tree. So we're going to wet our brush just a little bit. Remember, try to keep it toward the middle of your bristles always, never past the metallic part. And we are going to slightly dip it. You don't even have to put it too much. You're just slightly going to dip it into the black, very little, just a tip. And we're going to use that to sketch. Now, when we sketch this out, if you sketch and you see that the black got too thick or it's over an area that you don't want, don't worry. When we start to add the layers of paint for the actual birch, we can cover those up. And once the black is dry, if we had to, we could always do touch-ups toward the end, okay? So like I said, we're gonna make the first line, it's almost like we're creating jagged edges. And no tree should look the same as anyone else's. I'm gonna start in the middle and I'm gonna work my way very lightly to where I want my branch to be. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight because it's a birch tree, so you're not going to have perfect straight. The next one, I want you to do it just a little higher on this side, but again, fatter at the bottom. And if you're having trouble seeing it, just let me know. Hopefully you can see it because I am using the brush standing up, so it's not a fat line. If you need me to go with a fat line, excuse me, I will do that so it's easier for you to see it. Once you have this, now we're going to go in the opposite direction. From the longest line, you're going to go like this. If you find that your brush is skipping, and that means that when you're applying the paint, it's not moving smoothly, it means your brush is dry. So you just want to re-dip it a little bit into the water and get a little bit more black paint. And that is any time that we are working. Okay, going back to the first line that we initially drew, same thing. And you're going to keep going up and get narrower as you go up. And now you can have a little bit more fun because it doesn't have to look in this shape. You can make your branches. I'm going to try to mimic the original branches that I did. So I'm going to start here again. Again, another angle. And I'm going up. On this side, same thing, except I think I'm going to go this way, then up. Right now, to me, it looks like a witch is hunched over here. So let's really finalize it and make it look like a branch. Right in the center, we're going to create a V shape. So you want the V to go like so. And I'm going to follow the shape of this branch. Because you're laying out roughly where you want your branches to be. And again, if your black got too thick, if you don't like it, this is your time to rework it. So don't worry about it. We're going to cover all of that with paint. So if anything seems off, you don't have to worry about it. In the original painting, you will see that there's a lot of little branches, but we're going to do that at the very, very end once we've painted our birch tree in, once we have our background leaves, so that those branches are really on top of, and it really looks like you're underneath the tree and you see the branches as the leaves are coming out of it. So now that we have, if you're happy with it, I think I might make mine a little bottom heavier over here. I want this to be a little bottom heavy. This was too thin for me here. I wanted this a little thicker. There you go. So as you can see, I have this big line. I'm not worried about it. We're going to cover it. Once you are done, we're going to clean this brush all the way, get the black out for now. And for this technique, it's going to be similar to how we did the sky, except we're going to start making the leaves. And the reason we do the leaves before we do the branches, if it overlaps into the area that you've illustrated for yourself, You don't have to worry about those mistakes. It's a lot easier to work on top of something that's already painted versus trying to squeeze in with your brush after your tree has been painted. So for this technique, I like to use my big brush. Some people might find it more comfortable to use that medium brush, but I'm going to go with my big brush. And I'm going to use the red and the yellow, similar to how we did the sky, where the colors mixed right on the canvas. I love that effect. You're going to dip your brush into the red and the yellow. And if it gets too dark, add a little bit more yellow. If it's too light orange for your taste, add a little bit more red. But this is what's going to make all our paintings really look different. You're going to start adding your leaves. I'm going to add them in certain areas, but if you want to add a little bit more to one side or the other, have fun. So again, we're dipping back and forth on our palette. And I'm going to start right at the edge of my tree. Now, the last program that we did, there was someone that was left-handed and had a really hard time starting on this side, on the left side of the canvas, versus because they were left-handed, and then as they moved over to the right, they would smudge. If you are left-handed, I suggest starting on the right side so you're working in reverse. That way you're not accidentally smudging any of your paint or any of that is occurring. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to start right on the top, and you're just going to blot. You're literally just blotting, but you're going to keep dipping back and forth into that paint, because for this, it's okay if it's thick. When it dries, it will actually give it a really cool effect, and it creates another layer of depth. If your paint seems too watery, it means your brush still has water residual from when we used it from blue. Take your napkin and make sure you press down really hard, like that, flat, so that you don't mess up the bristles, but so that you're removing any excess water from it. And then,
And Omayra, I'm sorry to interrupt very quickly. We had a quick
sure.
question of which size brush are you using right now for this? Is this the largest brush
I am
still?
using the largest one, yes, but some people might be more comfortable, which is what I was saying earlier. I'm sorry. If they're more comfortable using the medium-sized brush, they can. I like to use the big brush because it creates nice big globs of the foliage, which I really enjoy. And because it, for me, in this case, since I'm teaching, it also goes faster for me. So if I need to stop and help someone, I can. I like the big brush. I use the biggest brush.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks for the question.
Yes, thank you. And go right up to that black. So don't feel bad. Remember, that's going to be the birch tree. So you're just going to keep going back and forth. I like to leave some areas in blue so it really looks, when we draw the branches in, like there's a break. And don't be afraid. This is kind of the fun part for me. Enjoyable. So just enjoy yourself. Go back. Get into those areas by the black line. I'm not drawing a straight line though. I'm keeping my brush straight, almost in a 90-degree angle. And I'm just going back to fill any spaces that have too much of one color, in my opinion. And I would suggest for you to stop your foliage probably right about here. Right about here. Because if you go too far down, then you're taking away that illusion that you're under the tree. So you want to stop just about here. So if you want to mark it, I would say mark it and then work your way up. and you're just going back and forth with that paint. And you should have some nice, depending on your color mixture. I can't wait to see these with the color mixtures at the end, because some people will have some really bright orange, or some people will have more of a red orange. But this is the great part about this, that we're going to wind up with really different results ultimately.
I was thinking that when you were talking about just the sky, if somebody wanted more of like a daytime sky, I immediately thought we're going to see some different colored skies, some night
Definitely.
skies,
Definitely.
maybe
And
a
that's
little more
great.
gray,
That's
rainy skies.
yes, I love that. That's actually one of, for me personally as the artist, that's one of the highlights for me, that I get to see all the different interpretations based on mood, or based on your hand motions, how the sky will look, how the colors will be. I genuinely, I think art should be indicative of what you're feeling, and the colors, your favorites, if you have a favorite time of the day. Inside the V section, I would fill it up completely, because that would be completely underneath. And again, if you see something is more red or more yellow, add the colors, and don't be afraid that it's glops. When I first started using this technique, it drove me nuts, because as an artist, you're always taught, keep the paint flat. When it dries, it'll crack off. But
Mhm.
there's just something so serene about enjoying the process, the technique, that you don't have to stress over, oh, it has to be flat, or it has to be this or the other. Now I'm going to go on this side.
I can do a little shameless plug. I'll talk about this a little
Sure.
bit during the break later, but that textured paint, if folks like that, the artist that I'm going to be talking about for the October tour, Khayyam Soutine, he took that kind of textured paint to a whole new level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at the paint, his canvases from the side, it almost looks like a three-dimensional, landscape or something like that. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, he has some great stuff. Maybe I'll show some of his work a little later.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And that's for your next event, Joe?
Yes, that is for our October tour. That'll be coming up on October 10th.
Okay,
And like I mentioned, we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes.
awesome. So on this side, if you notice, I'm leaving some open spaces. I call them breaks, because if you think about trees, when you're underneath or anywhere near them, the leaves don't cover everything. And as we start working and add the branches underneath, you want those breaks. You want to be able to see sometimes the branches coming through. And as you get to this side, I'm going to stop probably right about here. And I'm going to work my way just about to here. So I'm going to mark this for me, because we have a second tree that's going to be over here. But we didn't lay that one out like the big tree, only because I didn't want that to distract you from the leaves right now. We will lay that tree out once we finish the leaves. But that tree is going to be a lot simpler to lay out than this one. And again, you're going to dab all the way to the edge of the tree. I love when the brush creates these really fun burst. It really makes it feel like a cluster of leaves there. Again, another little break over here, because this will be branches for my other tree. And if you see me looking up, it's because I'm looking at my original painting that's right before me. But don't worry, leaves and branches could be added anywhere. There is no right or wrong when it comes to making a tree, really. Okay. So let's start adding those finishing details. If you see that there are sections where you see too much of the black and you want to cover it now with the leaves, go for it. We're going to overlap a lot of that once we start with our tree bark. I just don't like to have a straight line. So don't be afraid to dab color everywhere. And once we add branches, if you find that you want to add a little bit more in some areas or less in others, we could go back and you can rework it with your blue and your white. So now that I'm done, I'm just going to clean my brush fully and then blot it. And once everyone is finished, if you could give me that thumbs up, that would be great so that I know I'm not moving too fast. And we could start working on our birch tree and laying out that second little tree that's kind of hiding out in this corner.
You know, while we're waiting for people to finish up Omayra, I wanted to mention that, you know, this is, I think, one of the more advanced pieces that we've done here, because of you had mentioned that it looked like the base of the tree is closer to you than the top of the tree, and of course that is what we call perspective or foreshortening.
Yes, and it's very difficult. I knew coming in when we were doing this painting, you know, like you said, this is number 3 in the series. So when I showed this to my kids and my husband, they said, "You're going to do this painting?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it'll be fun to change it up and do something a little bit more challenging, just to show everyone that they're capable of doing it. It's just knowing to get those angles and what are the tricks of the trade in essence, right? If it's closer to you, it's bigger. If it's further away from you, it gets smaller. So I think this will be fun, and I think it'll be nice once everyone is done with them to see how everyone did it. And it feels good when you can accomplish something that's just a little harder, as long as you're going step by step and can understand, like I said, the little tricks.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, perspective is a very, I know I'm still afraid of it every time I have to do something with perspective. And I found this is not my drawing. This is a good example of some much more advanced perspective that, you know, you're standing at the street, and of course things get wider or bigger as they're closer to you, and then smaller and further away. But so that is, you know, you all should be very proud of yourselves tonight when you finish this painting. It's a very advanced technique. And Omayra, while we're waiting for some folks, again, I thought this might be a good time to just make a few announcements about some things that are coming up here for in the ILTA series, our fall 2023 ILTA series. So I'll go ahead and mention that. Let's see if I can find the right. Here we go. Have to change the slide. So I mentioned this a little bit or a few minutes ago that on Tuesday, October 10th, I'll be returning for the very first virtual tour of this fall 2023 ILTA series. And it's going to be a very special event because it is the 3-year anniversary of MSAA's very first virtual art night, which is what started this whole idea for improving lives through art and the virtual series. And we'll be going back to the place where it all began, the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I work as a docent. And just like I did back in October of 2020, I'll take you on a virtual tour through the galleries of the Barnes to learn about the unique history of the Barnes Foundation and the very unique exhibition style of the collection. And of course, talk about some of the most popular artists there. And as I mentioned also, we're going to focus this time on one artist in particular who is a very moving example of a life improved through art, the Belarusian Jewish-born painter Chaim Soutine. He was an expressionist artist who had to overcome some pretty incredible physical, emotional, and cultural barriers to improve his life through art. So I hope you will join me for that. Once again, that's Tuesday, October 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can go to mymsaa.org for more information. And if you are enjoying tonight's event, you definitely do not want to miss our next paint along on Tuesday, November 14th. Omayra will be returning once again to guide us all in creating another beautiful piece and possibly taking us on to, I don't know, Omayra, 4-point perspective.
No, I promise.
Raising the bar.
Promise. No, I promise. The birch tree series is done tonight. We're moving to something more wintry.
No more birch trees after tonight.
No
Okay,
more
so
birch
yes.
trees.
So there
Different
you
techniques.
go. So you and different, yes, great. So there's your inspiration, folks. Mark your calendars, Tuesday, November 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And once again, you can go to mymsaa.org for more information about that. And after virtually visiting the European countries of Italy and France last season, I'll be returning this December, on December 12th, for the final event of this fall 2023 season to continue our journeys abroad with a stop in Poland, my new home away from home. We'll concentrate primarily on the capital city of Poland, Warsaw, and feature 2 artists who are amazing examples of lives improved through art. The visual artist, Zdzisław Bigzinski, and I will teach all of you how to say that and pronounce that. And also our very first musical artist, who may be a little bit more familiar to some of you, the composer and pianist Frédéric Chopin. Once again, this will be the first time we're featuring a musical artist in the ILTA series. So please join me for that as well, December 12th. That is also a Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, go to mymsaa.org for more information about that. And hope to see you at all of these wonderful ILTA events. So let's see if, as Omayra mentioned earlier, if you are all ready to move on, you're finished applying your leaves and cleaning your brushes, go ahead and give us a thumbs up so we could know if it's okay to move on. 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Okay. I think I think folks are ready.
We are ready.
Okay. Enough of the announcements. Let's paint.
Awesome.
All right. Back to you, Omayra.
I'm going to go back to my big brush now. I love my big brush. As you can see, I use it often. We're definitely going to be using our smaller brushes as we get into the branches, but we're going to get to the texture of the birch tree. which in some case, I've seen all sorts of different techniques used for this, but I like the big brush. And again, nice thick paint. Before we get started, if right here, we're going to start with the black, very little again, big brush. And it's okay, we don't have to re-clean these brushes because you're going to have the same colors when we start painting. But what I'm actually going to do now is lay out where my other tree is going to be. I'm going to put him over here. And as you can see, this is really thick, too thick, but I'm not worried. We're going to make this smaller. And I could always touch up over here. So just going to lay that there so that I know I don't forget to paint my little tree over here. And we're going to start with white and brown now. And if you still have black on there, don't worry. You don't even have to clean that off, because if you look in my example, this is going to be a beautiful mixtures of white, brown, and black, which is going to create really nice warm grays in here. So I'm going to start at the bottom since everything up here is still probably still drying a little bit. And you're just going to go side to side. You're going to grab your brush to the side and drag it to the middle. I go right to the edge, drag it to the middle. And I'm going to keep redipping. I'm going to start at the edge of that black line, drag it to the middle, go to the other one, drag it to the middle, and back and forth. And you're going to keep working your way up. If you see that it's getting too muddy, too much of one color, use the white. But I'm always starting at the edge to start to create kind of that ripple effect. And I've seen some artists do this, believe it or not, with an old credit card. And they just put a glob of paint and then drag it. But I don't know. There's something about just the technique of the brush, and to me, it's more therapeutic. And just keep going from the edge of the black line right to the center. And you're going to start seeing that texture getting created immediately. And once again, don't worry if you have those nice big globs of paint. You're going to see that as you finish this painting tonight, you're going to find tomorrow it's actually going to look even different once everything is really settled and the colors are dry. And once you see some of the thickness of that paint, you're going to love it, because it's really going to have a birch tree feel. You're going to have that really rough looking, that bumpiness that you almost see on the birch trees. And remember, keep dipping your brush between the white, the black, the brown. Start at the edge. And don't worry, we're going to get the eyes. Oh, you see, I got way too much black going on. So I'm just going to take some white right on top. Lighten it up. There is no wrong in this, because you could always make adjustments. As you're working your way up, remember, we have those angles. So use your brush. If you're starting at those edges, bring them in the direction of the other black line. So instead of going just straight all the way up, if your angle is like this, then let it go down so that you're almost going parallel to the other line. If you start to do that, you're going to notice that your tree starts to get the feeling that it's moving. And I have a lot of really dark color here, so I got to get some white in here. And if something got too dark like mine did, don't worry. This is just the first layer. We're going to go back and do a whole nother layer. Really just have fun with it. Think about the texture of the tree, that feeling, how a lot of birch trees have that beautiful cylindrical feel to them. And as you're working up, take a look at the entire branch. If you feel like, oh, wait, my brush has this really nice color, I need to bring some of that color down here. Jump around, don't feel bad. And don't feel bad if you see some of the blue in there too, because remember, the tree would really be reflecting the light from the sky. So the wonderful thing about a painting like this is all these colors marry each other really nicely. So if you see a little bit of yellow or orange or something in your branch or your tree, that's perfectly fine. And again, as you get to these angles, don't go back and forth so that you are following that branch shape. And we're going to get darker in some areas as they go up. But let's do our first layer first. Continuing to do that back and forth stroking. You just go right to the edge, back and forth. And everybody should really start to get that feeling of the birch tree because your brush stroke should really be creating that feeling for you now. And you're just going to keep working your way up till all your branches are filled. And if there's some areas where you missed a little bit of the black, you can go back, get those in. If you are
Yeah.
done with this, oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I actually just wanted to mention something or show you something really quickly. We had
Sure.
a comment from Cat P in the chat, and I thought this was just a wonderful example of how when people view art or create art, they bring something very personal with them. But she said, with a certain perspective, the tree kind of looks like a brain stem reaching up into the brain branches, which I thought was just a fascinating.
Love that.
Yeah, something that she saw that was just very fascinating, and like I said, just a great example of how art affects and moves people in different ways, and sometimes what you see in art is what you bring to it.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kat, for sharing that. I love that.
yeah, definitely. Thank you,
So
Kat.
once you have the first layer down, we're going to use the same technique to start filling in that second tree. That way it gives the first tree a little bit of time to breathe so that when we go to do the second layer, it has this nice, beautiful undercoating. So the same technique, same 3 colors, side to side. You are probably all experts at this now, so you're just going to go back and forth. The only thing I would add to this tree is instead of going straight, I would add a little bit of a curve because we're going to start doing that with the big tree, but with the smaller tree, it's a lot easier to start getting that curve. And all I mean is let your hand do a little swish. Your hand naturally creates that. Your wrist will do it. So if you just give it a little bit of a flick, it starts to create that roundness. my tree's getting too gray. I need to add a little bit more brown. And again, love to see all the texture. So don't feel like you have to flatten anything. The reason I like to do these paintings is because, like I said, through my journey, I found it. I used to be a very graphic artist, and everything had to be so flat and painted in such a way. And if it wasn't, it would drive me nuts. But when I had a relapse and I had tremors in my right hand and I couldn't see the color red, I had to adjust my way of thinking. Instead of thinking, well, I can't do this, I had to figure out, well, how am I going to do this where I still feel successful as an artist? But it really is done in a painterly way with the way that I was trained to do art. And I found this technique was great because it just allowed the paint to dance and give you this really fun, nice texture. So once you have your tree, you have your first coat. And this tree, because we did the kind of arcing all the way up, has that really nice layer. We're going to do the same thing back to the first tree. We're going to do that, except now we're going to kind of curve it more as we go up so that you really start to get the feel that you're underneath the tree doing that. So we're going to go back to our 3 favorite non-colors, right? Our tone and our shade and our brown. And we're going to do the same, except this time, I want you to arc it. Just going to go back and forth, but I really want you to give it a curve now. And it should be a lot easier because we already have a nice foundation under it. And it's okay if you have some nice big areas of black, so it really looks like those birch tree eyes. You know, Joe mentioned you kind of see the things that relate to you. So to me, the birch trees, it was the eyes. When I've had major relapses, I've lost my vision in each eye for some time. So I always see eyes, I think. Maybe that's why. And we're going to just keep doing this until we go up. We're going to keep rounding it out. Keep rounding it out. And we're going to work all our way up, rounding it out. Starting at the edge, back and forth. And again, if you want to have your tree to have a little bit more brown, just add a little bit more brown. And you're going to keep going with that angle all the way up. And as you're working, keep letting your hand flick, give you that feel. And it doesn't even have to get to the other side because we're jumping around. If you look at my original painting, there's a lot of brush strokes that are not finished. And in that unfinished brush stroke, that's where you're going to really get some really cool textures. And now, because I'm kind of going to that angle, my brush, these curves are going to curve with that angle. And keep arcing it. Leave those uneven brush strokes so they're not finishing. And that also starts creating the knobby parts of that birch tree. And keep going back and forth till you get those really cool textures. Start adding thicker areas of black. Those are going to become your eyes and your birch tree. And keep those arcs. Keep your hand creating almost like quick, round, just quick brush strokes. This part got too gray for me. I want to add a little bit of brightness, even though we're under the canopy, but still, I don't want it to get so dark. And I'm gonna now start moving around anywhere in the tree where I want to start adding some highlights or checking out any areas that I feel need a little bit more texture. I'm just going to keep doing those same brush strokes. I'm going to add just a little bit of black to some areas. I'm using the same technique, but I'm going to add them because I want to have the feeling of ridges in some areas, like where those, it looks like black eyes to me. And when you're doing this, if you make a mistake, white will be your best friend. It's like whiteout. Paint whiteout. In these areas where we have the branches joining together, add a little darker black so that you really start to create that illusion that there's a shadow there because the branches are joining in here. And you're using the same technique, you're just moving your hand ever so just to start creating those shadows. And if it gets too dark, too muddy, white and brown. White and brown right in here. You really just enjoy that. Anywhere that you want to start adding those little details, start adding them in with the black, thicker strokes of the brown. Especially toward the bottom, because that would be what's closest to you. And if it gets too thick, just flick your wrist a little bit, pick up some of that paint, but keep going in that angle. And tomorrow, when you look at these, they're going to look even different than you see them tonight. Because the paint will dry and you'll have a nice blended effect. And if you finish with your big tree and you feel that your little tree needs a little bit more loving, a little bit more layering, same thing, go back and forth using your same 3 colors. Just gonna add a little bit of details here, but I kind of like how the tree came out with the blending. This one just needs a little bit more of those black spots for the eyes. We didn't have enough of them for me. And for this, you can use the side of your brush so that it doesn't have such a thick. So I'm just using the little tip right there. And just same technique, just flick it. And if you get into your other tree, well, let's fix it up. Not a big deal. And a little bit of color up here, too much white. And I'm happy with where my birch tree is right now. So I'm just gonna clean my brush. And blot it because I'm not going to be using that big brush anymore. Oops, sorry about that.
While you're cleaning your brush, Omayra, you had mentioned a couple times that during your relapses you weren't able to see the color red. I remember that was one of the first things you told me during our interview. And then you also mentioned that with these birch trees, you see eyes, and I think because your MS affected your eyes, and in particular the color red so much. One of my favorite pieces by you, if I hope you don't mind me sharing it, is this piece called Unfiltered, which everybody can see if you go to Omayra's profile in the MSAA Art Showcase. But I love that this painting really, I mean, right almost in the dead center of the painting is a closed eye, almost or possibly looking down, but it does look like a closed eye. But this very predominant color red in the background is such I think a powerful expression of your personal connection to this color, and in particular with your MS journey.
Definitely. This was one that was all done in markers because I wasn't as comfortable yet to do something like that in paint, but that was all done in about 5 or 6 different gray toned markers.
Wow. Yeah, and I think just the whole statue being in those great, that the whites and the values of black or gray, it makes the red even more fiery and deep and rich. Yes, so definitely one of my favorite Rivera-Filardi paintings or pieces. So, I love it.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I hope to submit some new stuff this year for the new art showcase.
Yes, that will be great. Well, and speaking of that, if you don't mind me making a couple other quick announcements. Where am I here? Here I am. Okay. Went to my camera and it was still the unfiltered. So very quickly, I had mentioned the MSAA art showcase. If anybody would like to go online and see that for yourself, it's very easy to get to. You can just go to mymsaa.org/art showcase. And of course, there's a search feature to search for Omayra Rivera-Filardi. But be warned, there's more than a decade worth of art showcases, and it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole and spend the whole night looking at incredible pieces of art. So please go there and support the MSAA Art Showcase. It's a wonderful resource that MSAA provides. It's free to anyone who wants to go to the website to see it. And speaking of the art showcase, since we have a whole Zoom room full of artists tonight, MSAA has a call for artists for the 2024 MSAA Art Showcase. If you would like to be part of the showcase, or you know someone who is living with MS who you think might be a good candidate, as I mentioned, MSAA is now accepting submissions for the 2024 art showcase. Submissions are accepted beginning October 12th, 2023, and will probably run to the end of the year at least. Hopefully somebody will correct me if I'm wrong about that. But you can submit up to 3 pieces to the email address you see on your screen, showcase@mymsaa.org. And I think Jen just gave me a thumbs up. Yes, that it was correct. That it will be running probably till end of the year, early January. So you have a little bit of time, if you don't have something you're happy with right now, to create something and submit it. So
Awesome.
I hope all of you will do that. And I also like to just remind everybody, if you are going to take photos of your work tonight and share it online on any of these social media platforms, please follow MSAA at MS Association on any of these platforms that you see on your screen, and tag us so that we can like and share your pieces as well. And as I mentioned before, Omayra's showcase you can find by just searching on MSAA's website. If you would like to go there directly, there is the address, msaa.org/art showcase 2021/Omayra-Rivera-Filardi. Say that 3 times very quickly.
Oh, I know.
But anyway, hopefully some of our artists tonight will submit some pieces for the 2024 art showcase. And you said you are going to be submitting some stuff, Omayra?
Yes, I would love to submit some stuff this year. Getting sick earlier in the year. When you mentioned the tree, when Kat mentioned the brain, it reminded me of the series that I did with the lungs when I got sick earlier this year, where it was like the trees look like the branches, the bronchial tubes, and the lungs. So I have some pieces that I wanted to submit.
That's fantastic. I hope we get to see those, Omayra.
Yes.
And I very quickly, I also want to just add very quickly. I saw that Jen put in the chat, if you don't have social media and cannot share tonight's work online, you can email Jen Gaynor at MSAA, and maybe a photo of your work, and MSAA or Jen will share it on social media for you. So let me see if I can make my screen a little bit bigger here. Right across here, there is Jen's email address. You can email a photo of your work from tonight to Jen, and she will gladly share it online for you. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
So, sorry,
So
Omayra.
let's start finalizing up. No, it's okay. It's all good
Great.
news. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff. All right.
Yes.
Let's finish it up.
All right. So we're going to start finishing up our details. We're going to first use the medium brush so we can put final details on our birch tree. And so we can get started on some of the smaller branches. Then we're going to switch up to the smaller brush to really get the tiny, tiny little branches in there. So let's go back to our medium brush, wet it a little bit. Remember, whenever we use the black, don't dip your whole brush into it, just the bristles, tip of the bristles, so that it's not overpowering. In this case, because we're going to start doing the smaller branches, I'm going to also dip it into a little bit of the white so you create a gray. And then you're going to pick a spot that you like. I like this spot right here because we have this break in the leaves. So you're going to keep your brush at a 90-degree angle, and you're going to start drawing out where you want this branch to be. Now, branches usually have what I call a Y formation. They end like the letter Y. And if you look at mine, my paint, I globbed so much of that yellow and red together that my paint is actually still wet. So I have to get a little thicker with my black.
And Omayra, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Again,
sure.
I just noticed in the chat, Ann Bishop wrote in the chat that she has a 5-year-old who is painting with her tonight and is very eager to
Awesome.
share his painting.
Oh, wow.
He was wondering when he will get to share it. We are just kind of in the final stages now, but
Mhm.
I know it might be getting a little bit late for a 5-year-old.
That's
So,
okay. Why
and
doesn't he share now?
if he's ready to share,
That would be
go ahead
great.
and give me a thumbs up, or let me know if you would like to share his work now. Let me see if I can find you here. And I'll ask you to unmute and ask you to start your video, and I'll see if I can find you here. We'll keep going, but if Ann pops on, then we'll jump over.
Here, let me
Oh,
try.
I
wait,
hear her.
I
I
hear
hear
somebody.
her.
Yes.
Try. Here you go, Mom.
There.
There is
Hey.
Awesome.
and he is very proud of it.
Oh, that looks great. He should be.
I have a 10-year-old who also has done one.
Oh, amazing.
Oh my gosh.
That looks amazing.
There you go. Thank you.
I'm gonna frame these.
Yeah.
Yes, those look great.
Well, oh, she's gone already. Okay. I
Well,
was gonna say.
I mean,
I'm
here.
there you are.
I just
I didn't have you spotlighted when for the first one. Do you mind showing that one more time if you can still unmute?
not at all. Hold on, let me grab it. Hold on.
Oh, wow. I love
Wow.
that.
That is awesome.
See, baby, they love it.
I also love the hardboard that you're painting against here. Is that a pizza?
Yeah, pizza.
I
Spatula.
love it.
Hey,
I love it.
we have all kinds of fancy tools tonight.
Improvisation. This is
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah, fantastic
so-
job, guys.
I love that. So we're going to keep doing our branches, and what we're also going to do while we have the same brush is make sure you don't have a lot of excess paint. Okay, that way when we draw our line, what I want you to do is on some areas, not everywhere, you're going to add hints of a line. And these hints will really start to define your birch tree. You might even want to drag some of those lines in. Just pick little lines and start dragging them in. Just in some areas. Drag it in. And you could do that to both of your trees. And it's just to really start to outline your tree. You don't want a coloring book feel to it. You really don't want that. But what you do want is just to, sorry, I'm trying to paint and I have a household full of teenagers. So if you hear any noises, I'm really sorry. You're just going to go right around here and just give those little hints just so that your tree doesn't get too lost in here. You're just going to jump around with it. You just want those little details without creating a coloring book feel. And I wanted to show you this because I know we stopped for a minute, but I wanted to make sure we got this part in case we run out of time. And then we're going to go back to making more little branches, pick another little spot, another good area. And you're just going to drag it out. A little bit of the black, brown, white. And you're going to pick where you want that branch to go. I like to lead them out. And you're going to be able to fine tune these with that little detail brush that we're going to use in a little bit. But I really just want to get those bigger branches in. I also like to add a little bit of white, but my background, my hand went too paint heavy when I did my leaves, but I like that because I'm going to enjoy that tomorrow. I'm going to add just a little bit of white so it's not just a solid line. And if you have all your big thick branches where you want them, I think that's where I'm kind of looking at my original painting. I think I'm going to make this go down here. You can put your branches wherever you want. I'm going to add it right in here. And you always end it in a Y formation. All of this is so let's go. Oh, sorry. That's the old. I don't know if you hear that loud. I have one of those old house phones, like the rotary type, so very loud.
Oh, the blast from the past.
Yeah, listen,
Hearing.
I love those things. Once you have your really big, thick branches in, if you're happy with that, we're going to use now the little brush. And this medium brush still has some paint on it, so I'm going to show you two ways to use it. You can either use the paint from here to dip this one in, or how to dip it into your palette. So with a paintbrush like this, you always want to start by wetting it first and pinching the bristles so that you have a nice, very put together tip, so that they're not spread apart and you don't have those really big. Now, because my brush has a lot, I can just roll it right onto here to get the paint. Or you're going to dip it into your palette. Just roll that brush right at the edge of the color that you want. Okay. And I'm going to wet it a little bit because it feels dry to me. You never want to press down hard with these brushes because then you wind up getting that big wide line. That's not what you want. I'm going to do the edges here so it has nice fine. Keep your brush barely touching the canvas. So you're not really pressing too hard. And you really create those fine little edges. And remember, it should look like a Y almost. The little edges of your branches should have a Y look to them. And you want to add those anywhere that you're in the mood to have these branches. This is the perfect time to start adding branches to your smaller tree and to start adding those little highlight details that we did to the big tree with the medium brush. So again, just get some of those edges. And then you can start branching off. I'm going to use pure black because my leaves are very, very wet still. But I'm going to use the skinny brush to really create my branches here. Constantly redipping it into the black. And I'm going to have this one have longer branches. And like I say with all my paintings, don't feel like this has to be done tonight. No artist is ever done in one night. And if they tell you they did, it's a lie. Nobody finishes in one night, I promise you. You're going to look at this tomorrow and say, oh, you know, I could use a branch right over there. Put it in. Sometimes you just need the fresh eyes to look at it in the morning and say, yep, that's what I need. I need something here. Or in a case like mine, that the top is really dry so that I can finesse these branches in a little nicer. Make sure you get into these little clusters that we drew in the beginning. And finishing them in that really nice Y formation. Find any of these little clusters that you did, and that's where you're going to have your branch.
By the way, I just wanted to remind everybody, we saw Anne's nephew's artworks, they got to share. We're going to give everyone the opportunity to share as soon as we finish up tonight. And then, of course, we traditionally take a large group photo to share on social media, if you would like to share. So hang tight for the end, and we'll all get to share if you would like to show us your work.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. So in all these little sections that you have these little clusters, that's where you want to have your branches leading to. And remember, keep your brush, end it in that Y formation. Let it spread out. Anywhere that you see, there's no right or wrong place for a branch to be. If that's where you want it, that's where your branch is going to be. Just make sure that it's thicker as you get closer to the actual trunk. Should always be a little thicker there, and then let it be thinner so it doesn't look like a spaghetti's growing out of your tree. Like I would tell my students, would it really hold up leaves? Would it really be thick there? Is there enough weight bearing there? Now, this is all wet here. I really went paint heavy today. I think I was having too much fun. I'm gonna still keep going up here. There's a big canopy here and I can't add, there we go. And if your branches get some of that orange or red, like you see mine, it's okay. Just add the black, let it all blend. The branches don't all have to end in the leaves. It can end toward blue as well. And tomorrow when it's dry, you can add a lot more details, finesse, add them in. Really have fun with the shapes of your branches. Black. Definitely can't paint in here. This is all so smushy, but I'm gonna add it in here. Gonna be my adventure for tomorrow. A little bit more detail in there. And add those last little light highlights. Let it all blend in. And the last thing I would suggest is somewhere in your nook and cranny, put in your initials. If you want to get fancy, you could actually do it in black on the birch tree so it looks like you carved into the tree. And then you're really getting fancy.
I love that.
So you could just put it somewhere in here. I'm going to do it right on my birch tree, and I'm not going to do it straight so it really looks like it's carved in. And I'm gonna put my
I love it.
Awesome.
And I think we can call that another masterpiece by Omayra Rivera-Filardi. I'll start the bidding at 10,000. Do I have we have to have an ILTA art auction at the end of the year.
Well, as soon as
No.
everything is done, I would love to see everyone's pieces. If they're willing to share, I would love to see what some of these pieces look like. So far, the two that we saw looked great.
Yes, I agree. I think I've been waiting all night. I cannot. It's my favorite part of these
Oh,
paint
mine
alongs
too.
is to see everybody's work. And so those of you who would like to share, feel comfortable sharing, you can go ahead and raise your virtual hand, click on reactions, and then click on raise hand. And we'll give you a few minutes to start raising your hand and get ready for that. I did mention this artist, Chaim Soutine, who I'll be talking more about in October. But I did promise to show one of his pieces. This is a piece at the Barnes Foundation, a still life, a flower arrangement by him. But you can see he's very loose painting wise, but you were talking about painting like wet on wet tonight, Omayra. You can see he did not wait for his oil paints to dry. He was there's just these swirls of wet oil paint, and they're so textured and layered, and mixed and swirled together. So I love his stuff. They're very
That's beautiful.
yeah, it's great stuff, and I'm sure people are going to love seeing some of his other work as well. And at the beginning of the night, I asked folks to share where they're watching or painting tonight, and we had a few people respond. We had there's me. I'm joining you from Woodbury tonight. Omayra is in Connecticut. Allie from Massachusetts, not far from you, Omayra.
No.
Then way out there on the West Coast, Kat from Los Angeles, and of course Marilyn Torrey from NYC. I think that was all the responses we got of where people. I mean, we have a lot more people tonight. So if you want to throw in the chat where you are joining tonight, we'll try giving you a shout out a little later. So I don't see any hands up right now.
One, I think. iPad 64 had a thumbs up, so I'm not sure if it was by accident.
A thumbs up.
Yes. Oh, we have a few. Merrill is ready.
There we go. Meryl's ready. I just got very excited. This is how much of an art brain I have. I saw Anne. I'm not sure how Anne. It looks like Gough. I'm pronouncing it Gough. But I looked at that name and I definitely saw Van Gogh's iPad Air.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't. You weren't the one. I saw. I was like, oh, and go. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, Van Gogh's joining us tonight from.
I loved it. I was like, wow.
From the great beyond, I guess. But so Anne, great name. But yes, it does look like we have some hands right here. So let me remove all of our spotlights, and so let's see, Meryl and Tori, we'll have you go first. Let me, I guess again, remove these spotlights. I'm going to ask you to unmute Meryl and ask to start your video, and when you are ready.
We are ready.
There they are. Hey.
I'm sorry. We kind of had to stop at one point so she can go do some homework.
Yeah, that's important. Yes, priorities.
Yes. So we did as best as we could. I don't know. Oh, my Zoom, I think now is somehow.
Yeah, there's like a
background
filter
thing.
on it. Yeah.
I don't know how to take it off.
Maybe hold it a little bit closer to the camera. There. Whoa,
That's
extreme
great.
close up.
Yeah.
I like it, Tori. There you
Oh,
go. If you hide
oh,
your
yeah,
faces,
there it
take,
is.
yes,
Yes,
there
right
you
there.
go.
Right there.
Hide your face behind the
Nice.
canvas. There we go.
Oh,
You have to
yeah,
trick
that was
zoom.
great. Yes, they're right there. Yep, right there. I love the texture of the birch trees. Very cool.
It was very fun.
Thank you.
So
Thank
glad you
you.
guys joined us. Thank you very
Of
much.
course. Thank you all.
And let's see, Silva has their hand raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute Silva and ask to start your video. And as soon as you are ready, go ahead and turn your camera on. All right, there you go. Let me spotlight you. Hey, Silva.
This
Oh,
is
I love
mine
it.
and my sister's.
Oh, these look great.
Oop. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback there. I'm gonna mute you, Silva, but
These look
go ahead,
gorgeous.
Omayra. I'm sorry.
I loved it. I love the angles on those. They looked really good.
Yeah, I'm really impressed that the perspective
Yeah,
is
the
coming through.
yes, for sure. And I know that's difficult.
My sister
Yeah,
did a better job.
I don't know. Don't they both look great to me. I
they
like I
look
said,
great.
anytime I see foreshortening, I'm you know, when I go to the life drawing classes, I always feel like I have to try to find the spot that's like dead center, so there's no foreshortening or perspective at all. Here we go. Now I'm seeing some hands. So let's see. Let's see. iPad 64. I'm going to ask you to unmute and to start your video. There we go. Let me spotlight you for everyone. Hey, and I don't want to just keep calling you iPad 64 if you feel comfortable sharing your name.
Of course.
Oh, Mary Beth.
Mary
I don't know if
Beth.
you- Yeah. And Mary Ellen
Wow,
in
these
the video.
That's the Marys.
the Mary.
Hi.
Well, the Mary's paintings look amazing. I love it. You ladies,
Thank you.
angles, the perspective, the texture on the birch trees look great. I love
Thanks.
the
It was fun.
Thank you. Those look
Yeah.
great.
And both carved the initials in the birch like you
I
suggested
love
there,
that.
Omayra. Looks great. Great job, ladies. And let's see. Ann Bishop's hand is raised again. I'm going to ask you to unmute and to start your video. Ann. There is she.
I'm showing mine so my daughter June in Canada can see it.
Oh, I love it.
There.
Oh, I see. Yep, June is here.
All right. Hey, John,
June should
I
be.
want John to come over, and this is my come on, John. Oh, he's refusing.
Okay.
He's coming. It's my grandson, not my
Oh,
nephew.
well,
Oh,
John,
your
you did a
grandson.
great job, John.
Yep, he wants to come back in November, so
We should.
I'll
It's
sign
the
some
winter
people up.
scene. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, John. It was very nice to meet you. And yes, thank you for bringing family to the event. And fantastic. Let's see. Who has their hand raised next? Kat. Kat P. I'm going to ask you to unmute, Kat. And whoops, I just lost you. Where? There you are. Let me spotlight you. Hey, Kat.
I don't know how to hold this. There we go. Hello.
Oh, that looks great. I love your colors.
Wow.
Darker with the birch tree. I love it, but it has a really nice effect with the contrast to the orange. That looks really good.
Thank you so much. It's my first paint along, so it's been really fun. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad you could
Yeah.
do it. Looks great.
Yes. And you know, my I love all types of painting and different uses of color, but those higher contrast interpretations are much more pleasing to like I'm red green colorblind. So you know, sometimes subtle values of colors, if it makes me feel a little frustrated and fatigued. So like I just love big, bold, flat contrasty colors. So, Kat, great job. Thank you very much. Let's see. Wendy Huckabee. I'm going to ask you to unmute and to start your video. Hey, Wendy, let me spotlight you for everybody here. There you are.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Very
I
nice.
My tree.
love that. I love how you blended the birch tree. It has such a nice effect. It's a little different. I like that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love that. And I like the angle of the second tree. That looks really good too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and Wendy, I don't know if you're a fan of Paul Cézanne. Those big, thick outlines around the outside of the trees look
Yes.
very much like Cézanne to me.
Do.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah.
So thanks so
And
much,
Bob
Wendy.
Ross too. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Let's see. We have a couple more. We'll do two more here. We have Allie and then Kelsey. Allie, I'll ask you to unmute, and if everybody can just stick around for just a couple more minutes, we'll do the big group shot at the end, and then we'll call it a night here. So there is Allie. Allie, let me spotlight you.
Love that.
There you are.
I love the contrast and the
Oh
brand.
wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys for putting this on.
Oh, awesome. It looks great. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for attending, Allie. That was, yes, fantastic. And let's see, last and certainly not least is Kelsey. And Kelsey might not be alone here. Let's see if Kelsey is just presenting her own work. Let me spot
have a whole family's worth of work here.
Ah,
Awesome.
So
great.
the 8-year-old did have to go to bed, but we have her painting here. And then we have
Awesome.
my husband's. And then
Wow.
my
Oh, I love that. You should hang those three together. I love that.
Yes.
It looks
You
so
have
good.
you have a triptych, a mini forest of birch trees.
I love it. I love it.
It is so nice. Kelsey, great to see you, and thanks for sharing. And hey, while your camera's unmuted, I was just going to suggest leaving it on. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute your cameras if you're comfortable with sharing your work and getting your photo taken for the big group shot here. Of course, I have to make a couple changes to my view. Switch to gallery view so I can see everybody. Wow, there we all are. All right.
In front of me.
As you there we go. All right. We have a lot of folks unmuted. Right. And by the way, folks, once again, you only have to unmute your cameras if you feel comfortable sharing your work. We won't share anybody's work who does not feel comfortable with that. But it looks like, oh, this is perfect. Yes. Oh, look at that.
Tori,
Hold
that
up your
looks great.
paintings. Yes, okay, there we go. All right, I will give you a countdown. Let me see. There you go. Everybody hold up your painting to the camera. Yes. Deborah and Mike figured out how to hide behind their paintings here. Okay, there we go. We're just still adjusting. All right, it's looking good. Okay, we're gonna go with this. All right, everybody on screen. Okay, I'll give you a 3 count. Here we go, everybody. In 3, 2, 1. All right. And while you're unmuted, everybody, let's give our instructor for the evening, Omayra Rivera-Filardi, a big round of applause. Of course, everybody's audio is going to be cutting in and out, but you can see everybody applauding for you, Omayra. This was wonderful.
It was.
I'm glad.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. And once again, please come to our other ILTA events that we have mentioned later. And we hope to see you back in November for Omayra's second paint along
Winter scene.
for the fall season. Yes, with a nice winter scene. And it will not be a birch tree, Omayra said. So, So anyway, I also want to thank Jen Gaynor, of course, our fearless leader once again, Gina Murdoch. I would like to welcome Tori to the ILTA MSAA team. Thank you to all the behind the scenes people for all the work that you do to make this possible. And thank you all again for joining us, and see you in October. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night.